Hey, what's up, everybody? This is KMN 1971 back with another installment of my comic book collection Spotlight series. This is the second part of my minor Marvel keys and first appearances. So I thought I'd be kicking it off with Iron Man, but I obviously forgot about the awesomeness of the Infinity Gauntlet. This is the Infinity Gauntlet #1 book that's been spec'd on for the past couple of years now, and I don't see people stopping, especially after that awesome bootleg trailer of the Infinity War that just dropped, a week or so ago. So, regardless of the movie, which looks awesome, this is essential Marvel reading or just essential comic book reading, period. This is an epic story. So, if you haven't read this yet, get on out there and do it. Here's the Infinity War #1, which people have been clamoring for, I guess, just because based on the title, and that's about it. As far as sequels go, it definitely lacks its predecessor, but still a good story. And if you do a compare and contrast to Marvel crossovers currently, it seems even better. So that's just my opinion, of course. So take that with a giant grain of salt. The Invincible Iron Man #118, which is very cool. And the first appearance of James Rhodes, obviously. Iron Man #128, iconic cover. Let me get out of the reflection here. Demon in a Bottle. When Bob Layton was on this title, this was pretty much heralded as the golden age on the Iron Man title. The Chris Claremont and John Byrne run on X-Men, Frank Miller on Daredevil, Walt Simonson on Thor. Bob Layton on Iron Man was the high point of this franchise. Here's a couple more out of that run. #131, facing off against the Hulk. 132, also still facing off against the Hulk. And sweet anniversary issue #150, where he faces off against Doctor Doom, which, as it says on the cover, trapped in the time-lost land of King Arthur, Iron Man battles Doctor Doom. Yes, the House of Ideas at their best. The Man Thing #1 from his second volume. Marvel Premiere #1. This one's probably only, I'd say maybe VG to 5.0 at best. I'd love to upgrade it, but it only cost me like $20. So Marvel Premiere #1, and this is pretty much the reboot of him into the Adam Warlock persona, or the beginning of it anyway. And that was one of those books that I was pissed that I could not find when I was originally doing my comic book collection Spotlight series. So cool to dig that one out. Marvel Premiere #57, which is the first American comic book appearance of Doctor Who. And that is the version of Doctor Who that I grew up watching back during my humble PBS days after school. Marvel Premiere #61, which is the last issue of the series, and it also sports an early Star-Lord appearance. The Micronauts #1, which I was a huge fan of as a little kid. It's just one of those 1970s toy lines that I guess you just had to be there to really appreciate it. But even though I grew fond of this series because of it being a toy line, later on, right before this volume was canceled, I thought this series was just incredible when it went direct market, and it went into a very darker storytelling. I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking right now, but it ended up getting a little bit more darker and realistic, which I guess was a trend going on in the 1980s anyway. But very cool. The Micronauts are definitely, I definitely have a soft spot for this franchise. So Micronauts #1, first appearance of the Micronauts. Moon Knight #1, 1st time Moon Knight had his own solo title. Vengeance of Moon Knight #8, which has a pretty amusing Deadpool versus Moon Knight confrontation. The New Mutants Annual #2, which has the first American comic book appearance of Psylocke, which I can't remember. I can't believe that I didn't show this off in an earlier video either. Let's get some of these out of the way. Nick Fury and his Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just this is one of those Marvel reprint titles from, I don't know what they were reprinting them from, maybe Strange Tales, but it does sport a pretty sweet Jim Steranko cover. So. Red Sonja #1, her first solo title, which is only in fine minus condition, but it only cost me $1. Silver Surfer #45, and once again, a book that you could have pulled out of a dollar bin or so maybe a year or two ago, but that is no longer the case. I wouldn't sleep on these Silver Surfer issues. Everyone is concentrated on the reappearance of Thanos for the first time, that issue, as well as the first appearance of the Infinity Gauntlet. But I would definitely be on the lookout for this one, and especially #46, because kind of like with Thanos reappearing in the Silver Surfer title after a long hiatus, this is the first appearance of Adam Warlock proper into the Marvel Universe, and with him, it's only a matter of time before he makes his appearance in either probably the Avengers Infinity War or maybe the next Guardians movie. But I would not sleep on this book. Another book I can't believe that I forgot to include in my Spider-Man comic book collection spotlight video. Amazing Spider-Man #239, which is the second appearance of the Hobgoblin. Amazing Spider-Man #315, sweet Todd McFarlane goodness. And this is the first cover appearance, believe it or not, of Venom, in probably the cheesiest first cover appearance ever of just the floating head. But very cool, and definitely, I'm not dogging the book. I love owning it. Any Todd McFarlane Spider-Man is sweet with me, especially with Venom involved. Amazing Spider-Man #365, another book that was dollar bin fodder for a long time, and it has the first appearance of, oh my god, who is it? Spider-Man 2099. Whew. Marvel Milestone Edition, which reprints the first appearance of the Punisher in Amazing Spider-Man #129. Wow, this one doesn't even have a backing board in it. How'd that happen? This is Stan Lee Meets the Amazing Spider-Man, which is a book that I bought off the rack when it came out, whenever that was. And I don't know, I didn't even know it was worth anything until I found out by accident on eBay. So this book goes for actually like $20. So, very cool issue though. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, #2. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, #28. #27 features the first Frank Miller Daredevil, and this is just another Frank Miller drawn issue of Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. Star Trek #1, the first Star Trek issue put out by Marvel Comics. Submariner #34, and this one is probably only a 5.0 to VG at best, but once again I paid under $10 for it. And this is the prototype issue. This one, along with issue #35, that predate the Defenders. This is kind of like the the Defenders prototype issues. Warlock and the Infinity Watch, number 42. This is the last issue of that series, and kind of tough to come by. An old school favorite of mine, What If, number 31 from What If Volume 1. What if Wolverine had killed the Hulk? Very cool. Nostalgic favorites right here. Uncanny X-Men 169, which features the first appearance of the Morlocks. And this is the continuation of that, number 170. And these are just like nostalgic favorites of mine, just for the sake of, this is when I first began to start reading the X-Men title. So when was this? 1983. So I was probably about 11 years old when I started reading the X-Men. Fantastic stuff. And this issue is the issue that just sold me on the X-Men for good. Uncanny X-Men number 172. Just classic. This is the follow-up to the Chris Claremont, Frank Miller Wolverine miniseries from back in the 80s. And I didn't even read that miniseries. I just picked this one up off the rack. But this was the issue that finally, after the whole Morlock saga and Rogue joining the X-Men, as well as this issue, I was just sold. I'd never read a superhero team or comic like this before. And next thing you know, I was digging for back issues for Uncanny X-Men, discovering the John Byrne, Chris Claremont run, which was very expensive and hard to come by back then. So, and that's where the love affair basically began. So, these books are probably like $10 books at best, but very, very near and dear to the heart as far as I'm concerned. So that's all I have for this installment. Eventually I'm going to dig out all of my DC minor keys and first appearances also and follow this one up. But I will be back next week sometime, or maybe the week after that, with another comic book haul. So thank you all for watching, liking, subscribing, and supporting my channel. Have a great weekend. Take care. See ya.